And we are back from our break, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, everybody's feeling nice and refreshed and ready, and get your mind set for what's about to happen. I don't know if you're as
Prepare your
excited as I
mind to be
am.
blown.
Dav is on that level. You see the hype in this man's body. Davon coming
Listen,
through. Super excited. Wants to say something to the chat. So, you guys, listen up.
I've been here the whole time, chat, right? We started strong. We've had these guys. The synergy is so cool. The lore breakers already know how to do this. Timmy knows how to do this. I came in at first, was kind of like, what? I started seeing everybody that I know. What's up, Shogun? Opie came through. Casper, Kyrie, thanks for coming together. So many people, Fish. I'm not going to shout out all the team members, but I see you guys. And I want you to know that this is like hype, yo. This is hype. What am I going to do? We're all going to be on spell break tomorrow. The next day, we're all going to be playing because it's hype, man. So I just want to say thank you to you guys. I want to say thank you to Medify. Yoshi's here behind the scenes making this just like flow like water. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shout out
Imagine
to
the issues
everybody
we'd have had without Yoshi.
for sure. Absolutely. Sector X Gaming. Guys, that's it, man. You know what this is. Everybody's a grown adult. This is crazy cool that this happened and it's going to happen again. So get in the Discord, get with all these guys. I'll be in the background watching. And I love you guys, man.
Let's go.
We love you,
go,
Dave. Thank you so much
finals.
for
Go,
coming on.
Dav.
You've
Let's
always
go,
been one
Dav.
hell of a sport in
Huge.
Well
our chats,
said.
and it's been an honor to be able to cast alongside you and have you here supporting
Yes.
us
Thanks,
and
brother.
supporting the team. So, without further ado, it looks like the teams are ready to go. Should we dive back in?
It's
Yes,
time to get
yes.
into it.
We're
The
getting on to the
grand
first game.
finals are underway. LD, what are you thinking?
Oh my gosh, what is there not to think about? There is so much that is about to go on. I know we had a quick chat during the video on what we thought was going to happen. I have no idea at this point. I think it is anyone's game. I think we're just at a point where we're here to watch some high level competitive spell break and watch these teams do what they do best. Interesting map choice with Himwood for the first one as well. Are we getting it out of the way? Is this a play? What do you guys think?
Interestingly enough, if you actually look at it, this is a repeat of the winners' final. Kyrie's team winning their loser bracket final has allowed them to come back at Gecko's Wet Thigh for revenge. Are we going to see a comeback story here, or are we going to see the UMG champion just carry on their streak throughout the entirety of the winners bracket to carry it through to the final? I
What
can't
did
call it
Super
myself,
Team?
honest. Timmy, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, what did they learn? What did they learn? They have the hype, like luxury of playing against this team already. They went against them in a finals already. They're back again in another finals. They know what these players play. And I think one of the very important things that we need to note here, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest deciding factors, is that one team has a flex player and one team doesn't. One team has some very, very clearly defined class players that play their class. They play it super well. But the other team on Super Team, Kyrie Caitlin has the ability to float around and play whatever. We've seen her perform at high level on every class that she's at, but sometimes having the ability to make that decision can sometimes lead you to make the wrong decision. So is it this concrete team that always plays the same classes, always the same composition, that always play together? Is that going to be what plays that comes into play and gets the dub? Or is it the ability to change and adapt to the situation and make a plan per round? Is that what's going to come in to take the dub? I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but right now, right off the drop, Wetfish and Gecko's Wet Thighs team will come out with 1 point lead just to get started.
Although that lead has just been evaporated by the Valgard, I think, got that kill to finish that one off there on Fish.
That was actually Newbie.
Oh, was that Newbie? He got
Yeah,
in there
with
as
a
well. I just saw
frost
that
lance.
noodle. Oh, what a frost shot.
Yeah.
And that's it. It just goes to show how much of a difference the frost shot can make. Like, you could be halfway across the map and still end someone's whole career.
Yes, yeah. I do believe that did come from the other side of the map as well. So a huge snipe from Newbie. Obviously, we saw Newbie's performance beforehand with those 12 exiles helping to carry Kyrie's team to a really nice victory. So maybe we're seeing that strategy again. You know, we're looking for Newbie to get the snipe pickoffs on, especially on Delicious Wet Fish. You know, we know how deadly he's been with that lightning gauntlet. Already seen he's got a purple one with 2 vampiric scrolls, max tracking as well. This man's stacked from the get-go, so he's looking dangerous, and they are now 1 point up again, so we'll have to see where it goes.
100%. And it's interesting to see the beginning of this match as well, because going back to Dumb Ways to Die and their last games, we've seen that any game that they've been in that we've watched, there's been this kind of truce at the beginning to get loot. Whereas both Kyrie's team and Fish's team, neither seem to have that same kind of agreement. They've both just kind of got a little bit of loot, and then as soon as they've seen someone that they think, right, I'm going to have you real quick, they've gone for that. And I think that's a testament just to the control of the game that Dumb Ways to Die had during their games. That no matter what team it was that they were against, whether it was Gecko's Wet Thigh, who obviously kicked them out of the winners bracket, or whether it was Super Team when they came to the losers final, they had the effect on both opponents that both opponents just like, okay, this is what we're doing. And I think that's just really cool to see how much control they had of the games to have got both teams and two different teams to have fallen in line with that.
100%. That's a very good point. Dumb Ways to Die was able to control, and it was less of an agreement and more of, hey, we're going to do it this way. There's nothing you can do about it, so you have to do it too. And it just shows how well their teamwork was and how well that machine was protected and ran together. And we see a lot of that happening here. These two teams, really, really great teamwork coming through. Earlier, we saw Gecko. We haven't really spoke about Gecko as much. He's literally the team's name, Gecko's Wet Thigh. He's a UMG tournament winner, definitely coming through and helped secure a couple of exiles in this match already with some of that win gauntlet. And definitely a very close match. Definitely just about 1 point difference at any point in this game. It's going back and forth. Gecko's Wet Thigh had the lead. Now Super Team has the lead. And it's so close right now. And a really good point from Sloth that just the beginning matches here in this grand final is so much more intense. They're trying to play for picks. They're looking for any opportunity because they know that both teams can come in here and they can play well. They can come in, they can farm these Val guards, they can get their scrolls. But if they're not playing for big picks, they might end up with a draw because both teams are so good. They're so well at doing what they do and playing the game that if they don't look for picks, if they don't look to take a little bit of a risk to try to get that lead, we're going to reach a stalemate. And that's what we see in the scoreboard right now. You're going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to take chances, or you're going to end with a stalemate. So we'll see. I feel like
this game is literally going to come down to who makes the biggest mistake, or who makes the first mistake, even because that first mistake is going to be where either team can capitalize. And once they've got a good 3 or so point lead, it is incredibly tough to come back from that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing that we keep seeing from these players, especially in these final few games, is just the calculations that are going on within the players and their teams means that it is pinpoint movements and decisions that will make or break. The entire 10-minute game can come down to a 3 or 4 second decision, which is really, really crazy stuff. And it's really, really cool to see all of the players, like Sloth says, capitalizing on all of the different abilities and what they can and can't do with what's going on. But we do see Delicious Wet Fish's team pick up an extra exile, although it does look like they lose one in the process. We see Fish chasing after that enemy. They're on the tiniest bit of HP, just trying to look to get the lightning off, but gets hit by the big boulder, getting pushed by a teammate. That was a very, very good play from Super Team there, managing to get Delicious Wet Fish down. You can see there that was a big kind of loss there. That may have been the first mistake that we see as Super Team are now up 1 point.
We had a little bit of a 2v2 situation coming out there on the outskirts, as it looks like Kyrie and another teammate does go up against Delicious Wet Fish and Thunderthigh. Really, really great focus from Wet Fish and Thunderthigh. They were able to get that first exile down, but Kyrie Caitlin just being really too slippery and a little bit too much good at what she does, comes back and really takes a couple exiles, punishes them for it, and takes a situation where a lot of players wouldn't have been able to come out alive, and actually turns it around to an exile in their favor. So big plays from Kyrie Caitlin. I think, like we talked about before we came back from the break, was asking who do we think wins, and I kind of flat out said that I think that Super Team's going to come through, and there's one big deciding factor in that opinion, and that factor is Kyrie Caitlin. When you push her against the wall, when you put her in a situation where she has to perform, she does it. She comes through. She not only performs as a player, she performs as a coach. And I think that we're going to see that coming through, especially in these grand finals. And keep in mind, you all, Kyrie Caitlin and their team was not able to practice nearly as much as a lot of these other players. Kyrie Caitlin has spent almost the majority of the time since the tournament was announced setting up the tournament. So We're watching a team. We're watching a super team come through, make it to the grand finals with maybe only a day or so of practice in, and that's super, super impressive. Win, lose, nothing. Like that is something to be proud of. So I hope all these teams, all these players leave with their head held high and had a good experience. But coming on in, we're back at that stalemate, 56-56. We did have a few mistakes. They were remedied a little bit by Gecko's Wet Thigh coming through and picking up exiles of their own. But that just goes to show you exactly what I was talking about. If you're not aggressive, if you're not taking those chances in this matchup, I feel like we're going to get a lot of stalemate because these players are just too smart. They're too good. They know how to deal damage without taking it, and they know how to recall before they die. So you got to take the chances, win or lose. You have to take them.
Yeah, 100%. I like what you said, what you touched upon there, Timmy, when you said that you push Kyrie against the wall and you're going to regret it later down the line when she comes back twice as strong. And it's interesting because, yeah, she's a phenomenal player. And when she's up against the wall like that, she has really pulled it out of her sleeve sometimes. But with that said, I think Kyrie's another player, a lot like Burrito, where mentality is her biggest factor. And it's not only her biggest strength, but it's also her biggest weakness. If she deems that she's done even the slightest thing wrong, that could be enough to just crumble her completely. And at the moment, we haven't seen that, which, I mean, for her sake, I'm thankful for, and for the sake of the content that we're watching right now, it's insane. But all it's going to take is just that one wrong move, and her whole mentality could come crumbling down.
Really good point. Yes, for sure. I could see the frustration after we got the break. Like I said, they had that little bit of momentum. They had that adrenaline. They had that vibe going. And if they were able to go right into that third round, they may have not ended up going to the losers bracket. And like you said, she is definitely, you really, really, really touched on something that's extremely important for Kyrie, is because she is so passionate. She is really hard on herself. If she starts to make mistakes, it can be a snowball type of thing. So hopefully she's able to keep her nerves straight, keep herself focused. Right now, she's doing a great job, 67-68 in favor of the super team. But honestly, we're just seeing a lot of really great spell break being played, a lot of great teamwork. You can watch this entire team here, Gecko's Wet Thigh, moving as a unit. You watch the focus come through, one player jumping through with the spring step, and all three of the players on Gecko's Wet Fly instantly turn to that player. It's just this nonverbal, like, just understanding between this team to stay together, stay on focus on the correct targets, and get the exiles coming through. Able to take out Arctic from the equation for a second. Wetfish will be able to secure that exile with a little bit of the lightning tickle, bring us back up to the 70, 72-72. Nice and even yet again, nice and tied. We have 3.5 minutes left on the scoreboard, 73 out of 120. And we've seen some matches like this throughout the tournament. It's been really close up into the end. Are we going to see a huge, big lead? Is somebody going to stand out, come through and get a triple kill? Is somebody going to come through and start feeding? What's going to happen here? Because something has to. What do you guys think? Are there any things that you can see either of these teams do to severely sway it in their advantage?
I definitely think something from the Stone Shaper, from Kyrie. I can attest to being able to turn the tide of battle with two well-placed boulders. Again, something that we mentioned earlier with Stone Shaper is if you can hit those damaging abilities, they hit hard. And obviously we're looking at Wetfish, very, very strong, but has just been taken out, and it looks like Super is going to get that 1 point lead. I think we're down to the last couple of minutes now, so this could be the decider. We see Delicious Wetfish taking a quick sip. The hydration could be what's needed right here to bring the points up to at least even, or maybe go back up to Delicious Wetfish's team being in the lead. But the movement that we're seeing here, I know we've touched on it before, but especially with Delicious Wetfish using his lightning strikes, not only offensively, but also using it defensively, and to gain that extra rune charge for an ability to escape or to engage on an enemy. I think he's using his cooldowns very, very effectively. And we do see him take out Newbie there again with that really good spring step placement. Just incredible stuff from Delicious Wetfish. Very focused, very in the game, very in the zone. And as you were saying earlier about vibes and stuff, they can they can have a big impact on the game. Whether you're having a good time, that break that we had, unfortunately didn't bode too well for Super Team, but it can bode well for the enemy team. And it looks like Delicious Wet Fish is absolutely slaying right here, using everything in his arsenal.
There is honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a more impressive conduit aim than I have right here with Delicious Wet Fish. This man is bopping, weaving, skating along, like he's got full speed boost already. He's sorcery cancelling to get a little bit more momentum carry. And then he is hitting every single shot from his blasts. Are you okay, dude?
Yeah, that's difficult. And honestly, both of these teams, it just the scoreboard, it's just driving me crazy. It's so much of a back and forth, barely 1 point lead. There for a second, we got to see Delicious Wet Fish come through, and their team actually got 2 exiles back to back. One went to a Valguard, unfortunately, but the other one they actually got the kill for, or the credit for. And the reason I bring that up is that means that Super Team was only down to 1 player alive at 1 point. So it's a 3v1 situation, and they were able to survive and not give up that advantage, and still survive and stay in the game. We're down to like 20 seconds left here, and we've got 1 point difference in favor of Delicious Wet Fish in our round 1 of our grand finals. And I think it might actually end with Gecko's Wet Fish taking our first round. I'm very surprised. It looks like it was kind of back and forth for a long time. Super Team there for a second had the lead right up until the last minute or so, but right as we get down to the last 45 seconds, 50 seconds, a 2-point lead is gained as Wet Fish comes in with almost 3k damage, 6 exiles, and just a tightly like machine against machine in that lobby. Both those teams knowing exactly that they are part of a bigger organism, the hive mind going on, and they were just going at it the best they could. And it was just literally, we've talked about it, it's the difference in the tiniest little mistakes. And honestly, in this round, it didn't even feel like it really came down to mistakes as much as the timer.
Yes.
It was a trade back and forth. And you just really have to know, when it gets down to that last minute, that's when you got to push the octane out. That's when you take your big chances if you need to. And that's when your team leader, your vocals need to be like, all right, this is the time to come through and get ahead, because otherwise, like I said, stalemates. These players are playing so tight and so well. There's not a lot of opportunities to get that lead.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there with the fact that it really just came down to the which team had that slight little lead from the tug of war as the timer hit 0. And when Fish just put that see, that's what was interesting at the end of that, is that their team at 1 point up with 30 seconds to left. You've got 2 choices. You either chase the kill, like Fish was absolutely doing there, was not letting that person get out of there for love nor money. But they could have quite easily gone well on the defensive and just tried to stall out that last 30 seconds and keep that 1 point lead. In the end, it could have gone either way. So Fish could have well overextended there and got punished by the rest of the team for it. But luckily for him, it paid off. They secured that extra point so that even if it did end up backfiring for him, they still had that point buffer. And at that time, with 15 seconds left on the clock, there's just no way of coming back from a 2-point deficit. So well played there from Gecko's wet thigh.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Some top level gameplay. I know we keep saying it, but we can't say it enough. It's absolutely insane to watch. As we're waiting for the players to get ready for the next game, I wonder what map we're going to see. Of course, we've got best of 5 situation here. So if it goes all the way, do you think we could see all the maps in rotation? Or do you possibly think on that 5th game that we may see a different map out there? I'd be really interested to see Banehelm again. I think that was a really fun game to watch. We saw a lot of interesting plays coming out there. We did lose an unfortunate breaker to the Fracture as well, which is something that we're not seeing in the other maps. These environmental issues. It's not so much as map knowledge for I know I can hide behind this. It's map knowledge, don't fall down this. It's that contrast that brings just a different level of gameplay, which is super fun. And yeah, I know chat is popping off right now on how much Fish has pure W key energy.
It's tracking.
That's
tracking.
Exactly.
That made a huge difference to be able to, like, you're literally broadcasting information to your entire team to where an enemy is located, even if the enemy doesn't realize they're being spotted, and creating a mutual target amongst all three of you to focus on. It's chat is big brain chat. Always we can rely on them to point out stuff.
Yes.
The tracking is huge, and we saw Wetfish use it over and over again. We saw that Conduit really make the most of it because it allows for you. We've talked about how it's nearly impossible to miss hitting somebody if they're not behind line of sight cover. And what that means is you can put a tracking on everybody as long as they're not behind a wall. And when you get into a map that like Hemwood or maybe even Banehelm, where there's a lot of open area, that tracking is going to come to play again. I will say in Banehelm, I think the map's a little bit larger, so it'll be a little bit harder to capitalize on, but still the opportunities and the advantages that's offered from that talent, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be helpful, and it may be the deciding factor in this tournament moving forward.
Also, not to mention the fact that once you've fully charged it with your scrolls, it lasts for a whole 10 seconds per person per hit. So if you get 5 seconds in, you hit them again, you've got another 10-second timer.
Yeah, and
So
you can
that's
apply
just
that to the
stackable.
entire
That's
squad.
mad. Yeah.